Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to Her Peace Talk Show. You have a few minutes where you can go and invite others before we dive into the conversation tonight. I promise you that it is going to be good. I promise you that it's going to be good. So go ahead and take this opportunity to share and invite others in for the conversation tonight. Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is so good to be here. So good to be here live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. All right, all right, all right. So, again, I'm going to ask that you will go ahead and share, invite one of your girlfriends or someone who you believe will benefit from the conversation tonight, I promise you that it is going to be good. It is going to be good. Can you say hello? Those of you who are live on Facebook and on Instagram, say hello so that I will know who is there tonight. It doesn't show me who's there, but if you say hello, I will know who is there. Tonight, it is going to be good. I am opening up tonight. I will be having different guest speakers join me this month as we talk about self-care, But I wanted to kick it off tonight, and I am going to be talking tonight about boundaries, how to set healthy boundaries. Boundaries are so important. Again, if you could say hello, just so I will know who is there, share, tag, invite. I promise you that it is going to be good. Now, many of you know who I am, but I'm going to introduce myself just in case you share it on your page and someone may not know. Good evening, Reverend Chambers. Thank you so very much. Good evening. Hello, Mom. Hey, Mom. Good evening, Pastor Snell. Hey, my sister. Good evening. Good evening. And good evening, Jean Nelson Haynes. It is so good to see each and every one of you. I am Pastor Sandara Williams. I'm also known as Coach Sandara. I am an author. I am a writing coach. I am a self-care advocate, and I am a grief and trauma advocate. And I just believe in empowering others and in sharing. And good evening on Instagram, Brenda Porter. Good to see you. I believe in sharing the knowledge that the Lord has blessed me with. And so every year I do self-care. I usually do it for the entire month. Not able to do it for the entire month this time, but I am going to do it as many evenings in or days in April as I can, because I believe that self-care is so important. And but I also believe that it is an area that we neglect, And so that's why I wanted to come on and I wanted to share. Again, for those of you who have not hit that share button, hit the share button to share it on your page or a group that you think that it could be beneficial for. And I promise you tonight it is going to be good. And so I am going to open up with talking about boundaries. Boundaries. First of all, I want to say that we should all have them. We should all have boundaries. However, there are many of us who do not have boundaries, but I am going to help you to see tonight how important it is for you to have boundaries. Boundaries help you to keep things in place. It helps you to keep things in the right place. And so this is what I am going to talk about on tonight. Boundaries. So I want to start out by saying, how many scenarios have you replayed in your head where you wished you had said or done something differently in a situation, in a circumstance? Those situations were, in retrospect, we actually do muster up the courage to start that tough conversation or insist that others respect our time. How many times have you wished that you could have gone back and done something over, did it another way after the situation took place? We've all done it. But we must get serious about setting boundaries. And then I want to tell you that when we set boundaries, the boundaries, it's for you. It's for me. When I set boundaries, it's for me. It's not for others. And that's something that we get mixed up on. We think that setting boundaries is for others. No, setting boundaries are for you. Because when you don't set boundaries, all kind of things happen. So let's clear that first. You must set your own boundaries. Nobody else can set your boundaries for you. Nobody else can tell you what boundaries you need to set. You need to set your own boundaries, right? And so, in order to make changes as it relates to our boundaries, it can get difficult and it can be hard, right? To change this, here's the number one question you should ask yourself. What stops you from speaking up and standing firm for yourself when you need it most? Ask yourself that question. What keeps you from speaking up and standing firm for yourself when you need it most? Is it fear? Is it worried about what the other person is going to say? What is it? That is something that you need to ask yourself. I believe it's the need to be liked by everyone, the need to for everyone to like us as a person. Is this really necessary? No, it is not. But this is something that women, especially women, we do. We end up trying to make sure that everybody is our sister girlfriend or our friend. I want to tell you tonight that that is not possible. Everybody is not going to always like you. We must learn how to accept the fact that everybody is not going to always like us or be around us. And guess what? And we must be okay with that. Everybody is not meant to be our friend. Everybody is not meant to be in our circle. Tonight, we're talking about setting boundaries. It is so very important for you to set boundaries. Trying to always seem to be nice and to be agreeable and easy to work with will often cause you to drop your boundaries in a hot minute because you don't want somebody to be upset or you don't want somebody to be angry with you. When we have this type of action, it causes us to drop our boundaries. Remember, at the beginning, I told you that the boundaries that you set, they are for you. They are not for anybody else. The boundaries are for you. And when we try to be agreeable all the time or be nice all the time, we put our boundaries on the back burner. Women, we cannot do this. It does not mean that we have to do this. We just have to learn how to work our boundaries better. And this is what we are going to talk about tonight. When we work on our boundaries, right, it helps us to protect our time. It helps us to protect our confidence. It helps us to protect our space. It helps us to protect our energy. And these things we want to protect. These things we want to protect. When we are no longer protecting our energy, when we're not protecting our time, when we are not protecting our space, anything is liable to happen. So I want you to say tonight, I want you to make up in your mind that you will begin to protect your energy, your space, your confidence level, because you will have great boundaries. Now, I want to ask you this question. When was the last time that you took a look at your boundaries? Do you really have any boundaries in place? If you do, what is mostly important to you as it relates to your boundaries? What's important to you? Your confidence, your energy, your time, or your space? Well, I'm going to answer that question first. And I want to say what's most important to me as it relates to my boundaries is my time. I hate for somebody to waste my time. You said that you were going to do something, or you said that we were going to meet at this particular time, and you don't show up. You wasted my time. And that bothers me. So when it comes to my boundaries, time is very, very, very important. Now, I asked you, what about your boundaries is important to you? Your time, your confidence, your space. What's important to you? Only you can answer that question. And guess what? You must be able to answer that question. And nobody else can answer that question for you. But here's what happens when you don't set boundaries. You worry about what others think. You worry about what others have to say. You worry about what others tell others about you. That's why you need boundaries. Because you cannot be worried about what people say to you, what people say about you, or what people say to others about you. When you set boundaries in place, right? Setting boundaries causes you to feel better about you. Now, here is what I want to say. Sometimes when you find yourself setting boundaries, people will think that you are arrogant or that you think more highly of yourselves, when in actuality, all you are doing is protecting your space, your time, and your energy. It's not that you think that you better than anybody. No, you are making sure that you protect your space. So I asked you the question, when was the last time that you protected your space? When was the last time that you stopped someone from taking advantage of you, advantage of your time, advantage of your space, advantage of your energy? When was the last time? Only you can answer that. And I want you to answer that question. When was the last time you had to pause and check somebody about boundaries as it related to you? Now, in checking somebody, it doesn't mean that you do it rudely. No, you're nice. You're respectable. Why? You're respectable because you want them to respect you. So there's no reason to be rude as it relates to our boundaries. So you ask yourself, when was the last time? Do I really have any boundaries in place? Or do I just go from day to day? You must ask yourself that question. Boundaries. They are so important. But yet, we don't want to put them in place. And so, I want to tell you that what happens is when you don't have boundaries in place, you don't make as much progress. When you don't have boundaries in place, you don't get as much as you would like to get done, right? What do I mean when I say that? When you have boundaries in place, everybody can't call you, or you don't sit on the phone all day, or you're not on social media all day, or you're not texting all day, or you're not watching TV all day. No, because you have boundaries. And the majority of the time, when you have boundaries, you have a schedule that you work by. You have a planner that you work by so that you can do what? So that you can get things done when you have boundaries. Boundaries can show up in a lot of ways. And I'm going to tell you some of the ways that boundaries can show up. When boundaries are in place, you refuse to allow others to speak to you in a rude or a condescending manner. When you have boundaries in place. Protecting your space when your door is closed. It means it's really closed. It doesn't mean that someone can knock on your door and walk in anyway. It means that you had your door closed for a reason. Setting your priorities for the day based on what works best for you when you have boundaries in place. Instituting a zero tolerance policy of gossip, whether it's by talking to you, having a conversation, or by texting you. When you have boundaries in place, you have a zero tolerance for that. So what you do is when you see that that is what someone is trying to do, that they're trying to have a gossiping conversation with you, if it's in person, you nip it in the bud and you say, you know what? I'm not going down that road with you. And that's not a conversation that I want to get engaged in. If they do it by text message, you simply do what? Ignore the text message. When you have healthy boundaries in place. And we must all put boundaries in place. Boundaries should not be the last thing that we do, but more so, they should be the first thing that we do for ourselves. Boundaries. Refusing to be the fixer to everybody's problems. Feeling like we got to know all of the answers. Feeling like everybody can come and dump everything on us. You cannot be the fixer of everybody's problems. And yes, that includes me, even in the many roles that I serve in. In the role of being a pastor or in the role of being a coach, I cannot fix everybody's problems. But many of us, we allow ourselves to fall into that trap because we allow others to bring everything to us, right? We're not a trash can. And when you set healthy boundaries, everybody can't come and dump, right? When you have boundaries in place. Now imagine what your day would look like if you would set healthy boundaries for yourself and took charge of how you wanted to be treated by others and how letting go of the need to be the fixer for everybody can free you. Boundaries show up in many ways. I believe you need to teach others how to treat you. And no one can do that better than you. You must treat others how to treat you. Teach others how to treat you. If you don't set personal boundaries, then others get to decide how they will treat you. The devil is a liar. Nobody can decide how they will treat you. Only you decide that. Why? Because it's your life. It's not anybody else's life. It's your life. What is the benefit of leading by example and expecting others to honor one another's boundaries? I'm glad you asked. In my experience, the result is more productivity. Many people ask me all the time, how is it that you do all that you do? How is it? And it appears that you do it all well. Well, let me tell you why. Because I have good boundaries in place, healthy boundaries in place. And because I also work by a planner. I planned my life. I knew that I was going to do this. I knew the time that I was going to do it. And guess what? It's written down in my planner. You must, when you set boundaries like this, that's what you do. You outline your day. You outline your life. You don't just show up. You don't just get up for the day and go through the day. No, you outline what your day will entail. That's when you have healthy boundaries. Talking about healthy boundaries. If you haven't shared, share the live so that it will be a blessing to someone else. Now, I want to see if any of you answered any of the questions that I asked. I have to do better. This is from Kenya. I just distance myself when people don't respect my boundaries. Well, Dr. Kenya, that's my daughter. It is good to distance yourself, but did you really take care of the problem if you just distance yourself? No, you got to teach them how to respect you and also treat you. When you distance yourself, you really don't deal with the problem or the issue. You want to deal with it so that the next time that you have an encounter with them, it'll be totally different. Why? Because you have dealt with it. And that's what we got to learn how to do. When we set healthy boundaries, we deal with it. We don't just brush it under the rug. Because see, what happened is if you brush too much under the rug, right? At some point, there's going to be a heel up under that rug. No, When we set healthy boundaries, we deal with it. And guess what? We deal with it in a good way. We don't have to be nasty. We just have a conversation about it. We had a conversation about it. Let me see if anybody else answered the question that I asked. We're talking about setting healthy boundaries. We gotta. Hey sis, how are you? Yes, we gotta set healthy boundaries. We won't have to be nasty and won't have to be rude, but we set healthy boundaries. And now I want to ask you, are you ready to take your power back by setting healthy boundaries? Yes. You have the power to take your power back. Why? Because it's your life. God gave us all one life to live. And so when you make up your mind that you are ready to take your power back because it's your life, you don't have to answer to anybody. All you have to do is take your power back and make up in your mind that from this day forward that you are going to do things and that you are going to respond to things differently. Are you really ready to take your power back? So here's how we're going to find out. The first thing I want to tell you is that you must decide what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not willing to tolerate. Now, everybody's story is not the same. So everybody doesn't feel the same way about different issues. That's why each of us must decide what we are willing to tolerate and what we are not willing to tolerate. Right? I got to do that for myself, and you got to do it for yourself. You got to decide what you are willing to tolerate. Now, many of my clients have struggled with this. They believe that they don't struggle with boundaries. In all actuality, they really do. That's until we begin digging below the surface and they see the examples of situations where they wished for different outcomes. I want to tell you tonight that you don't have to wish for different outcomes. You are in control of the outcomes. How are you in control of the outcomes? Because it's your life. Because they're your situations. Because they're your circumstances. You are in control of them with the power of the Holy Spirit. You decide how you will be treated, not others. And so this is what I have to help my clients to see, right? As you go through your day, pay attention when something irritates you. Pay attention when something causes you to get on pins and needles, right? Pay attention to someone who disregards you. Chances are you need to establish and honor a boundary. You got to pay attention. And what we call these in the counseling or the therapist world are triggers. What triggers you? What gets up under your skin? What causes you to come out of yourself and act out of character? That's what triggers do. Triggers cause us to act and respond in ways that we would not normally act or respond. You got to decide what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not willing to tolerate. Number 2, realize that you have the right to set boundaries. Each of us have the right to set boundaries. Why? Because it's our life. This goes back to when we were children. And we were told to act and to behave like what? Like a little lady. Right? Most women have subconsciously embodied that social rule about how good little girls are supposed to behave. Can I get an amen? I know my parents told me about how to behave. Each of us, we had that. They told us about how to behave. Just like they told us about cross your legs. Just like they told us about how we should sit. Anybody else remembers that other than me? I remember this like it happened yesterday. Now, as adults, we don't recognize that we can choose something different for ourselves and that we have the right to do so without giving anybody an explanation. We don't owe anybody an explanation. Why? Because it's our life. It's your life. You don't owe an answer to anybody. You don't owe a response to anybody. But how many of us feel obligated to do so? Many of us feel obligated to do so. But do we really have to? No, we don't. We're talking about setting healthy boundaries. Number 1, decide what you are willing to tolerate and what you are not willing to tolerate. Number 2, Realize that you have the right to set boundaries. Number three, put your boundaries into action on a consistent basis. Here's the problem that we have. We'll say we're going to do it, but we don't keep up with it. I'm guilty. Anybody else guilty? I'm guilty. No, we got to be consistent about our boundaries. We got to be consistent about our well being. We got to be consistent about the things that we say we are going to do. No, we got to be consistent. Consistency is what breeds peace. If we would keep doing it, if we would do it on a regular basis, if we would do what we say we are going to do, if we would be women of our word, consistency is what we got to do. Consistency. We'll say we're going to do something one day. I'm guilty. I'm not just saying it to you. I'm the same thing. I'll say I'm going to drink water. I'll say I'm going to eat this way. I'll say I'm going to exercise. I'll say I'm going to walk. Is there anybody else? Come on. If that's you, say, that's me. That's me. Let me type it here. That's me. That's me. That's me. But that does not mean that we have to stay that way. Put your boundaries into action on a consistent basis. Now, this is one of the toughest things that we could ever have to do. After you identified what you are willing to tolerate and what you're not, you then have to act on it. Now, when you act on it, you perhaps may want to start small. Not huge, but start small. Practice incorporating one new boundary a week to see how it feels, to see how you feel. When you stumble, don't beat yourself up. Simply begin it again. And that is something that we do as women. We beat ourselves up so bad when we don't keep up with things. Don't beat yourself up. Dust yourself off, and get back up and do what? Try it again. Why? Because it's okay to mess up. It's okay to mess up. There hasn't been but one person to walk this earth that was perfect. And his name isn't my name, his name isn't your name. And so we got to stop trying to be perfect. So get back up and do it over again. And when you feel like you've got a boundary locked in place, bring in another one, and each week try to add one. But be consistent with the first one that you added before you go on adding others. If you can't be consistent with the one you first added, you might want to be hesitant about adding others. I'm talking about consistency. Consistency is what we need. There's something very freeing and powerful in standing up for yourself and about claiming what you want and what you don't want. This helps others to know, and not just know, but also to learn how to treat you. If you don't treat others, if you don't teach others how to treat you, then others will treat you the way that they want to treat you. When you decide to set boundaries of your own, you can change. You can change them anytime you want to change them. Why? Because It's your life. And you have what? Only one life to live. So you can change them. It's okay. It's okay for you to change them. Right? You have new levels of expectations and new levels of limits once you put healthy boundaries in place. Now, I want to ask you tonight again, who is ready to take your power back? And if you had to pick from of the three areas, I want you to type on the screen which one it will be for you, where you will start. Number one, decide what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. Number two, realize that you have the right to set boundaries. Realize that you have the right to set boundaries. And number three, put your boundaries into action on a consistent basis. Which of the three are you going to choose? And I am going to choose that. Put your boundaries into action on a consistent basis. Which one would you choose if you had to choose one tonight based on the way that you feel? Type it on the screen. Again, I am choosing put your boundaries into action on a consistent basis. If you had to choose one, which would you? All right, Lady Porter, to set boundaries. Okay, number two. All right. And if you want to put the number, you can put the number. Mine is number three. Where will you start? Where will you start? Where will you start? Number one, decide what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. Realize that you have the right to set boundaries. Or number three, put your boundaries into action on a consistent basis. Okay, I guess someone must be Sister Gail. Okay, you must be on YouTube. So she sent a text and she said not to be disrespected. So Miss Gail, where do you want to put that one at? Under number one, under number two, or number three? If you are on YouTube, you can text me. Text me. It's important. I want you to identify one because that is where I want you to start. We got to say or make up in our mind that we are going to start somewhere. All right. Number Gail is saying number one. All right. You got to identify where it is that you will start. If you don't do that, you're not going to do it. Remember, all the reasons that I said that it is good to have healthy boundaries. So you got to decide where you will start. You got to decide where it is that you will start. As you set your boundaries, you set beautiful examples as to how others should treat you. You, my powerful sisters, each and every one of us was created to be loved, to be respected. with our time, our space, our energy. We don't have to be disrespected. Not at all. Now, I ask you, name one thing that stops you from speaking up and standing firm as it relates to your boundaries. Now, I don't know if it's just me or if you all not answering. Are you all answering? Oh, okay, I see a couple. My bad. Remaining consistent. Okay, number three. Three for mom. Number two for Felicia. Okay. All right. Yep. We all got to start somewhere. If you don't make up your mind, all right, here's somebody else that's on YouTube. Sister Carol. She says, um, number three. All right. To uh put boundaries into action on a consistent basis. All right. Gotta do that. Gotta do that. Sister Gail says, sometimes I don't want to hurt someone else's feelings. Well, in doing so, we don't have to hurt people's feelings um, because we can do it in love, right? And if you do it in love, it's not going to come out in a bad way. So we can't always feel like we're going to hurt somebody else's feelings. Just do it in love and do it respectfully, and it'll come out right. It'll come out right. Mhm. It'll come out right. Setting boundaries is so beneficial, and you're going to see that as you move forward if you are serious about setting the boundaries. Now, many ask me all the time, how is it? And I just told you how. I have very clear boundaries. Very clear. You can't call me all the time. Text me all the time. You can't say just anything to me, just any kind of way. It's not gonna happen. And so you gotta teach others how to treat you. And when you do that, they'll know how you want to be treated. And that's something as women we don't want to tell others what we like, right? Ahead of time, right? Especially in relationships. We wait until we get in a heated conversation or in a conversation, and then we want to say what we like and what we don't like. When we could have said that the whole time. Or we could have said that before now, right? We could have said that before now. But if we would do it early, it would save a lot of stuff. We got to be okay with it. We got to be okay with it. And I hope tonight, talking about boundaries, I hope that it's an eye opener to those of us who do set boundaries already, and for those of us who didn't set boundaries. We didn't feel like boundaries were really important. I hope that tonight, with telling you the things that I shared with you tonight, where I talked about setting priorities, having a zero tolerance about gossip, whether it's by phone or whether it's by text message, refusing to allow others to speak to you in a rude or condescending manner, protecting your space. You got to protect your space, your peace, protect your mind, protect your spirit. We can't allow all kinds of things to enter. No, we got to protect that. And so I hope that you will protect your space, your time, and your energy. We only have one life to live. And we all got to make up in our mind that we will live our very best life. And we're going to start with setting boundaries, healthy boundaries. And so I came live tonight alone, but there are some days for the rest of the month. I am going to share who will be joining me. So, Esther Locks Hair Salon and Day Spa will be joining me to talk about self-care and to talk about her business. Also, the Locks Bar will be joining me to talk about her business and what she offers. And she also owns Naki. These are products that she sells. She will be joining me as well. Also, Black Women Handling Business will be joining me. She does something for women and she will be joining me to talk about it. Also, a therapist, licensed therapist, Dr. Shalita Mira will be joining me. Also, Tailor Made Events. She does events for women. She will be joining me as well. And also, my daughter Kenya has started something that is so necessary, Healing Tears, and you're going to hear about that. And I will post each one of them ahead of time to let you know. Images of Hope will be joining me to talk about what she does for women. And that's the owner is Hope Massey. And also Women of Orlando. The owner of that is Monique Nichols. She will be coming on to join me to talk about her business and self-care and why she began doing this for women. Also, I would like for you to save the date to join me. Her Piece presents. It's time to move forward. Save the dates to join me September 8th through the 10th, and it is going to be held right here in Daytona Beach, Florida. So I am asking that you will look for the notifications to join me and my guest throughout April. And if anything that I shared with you tonight was beneficial, was an eye opener, type me in the comments. Type me. Did I say anything beneficial or helpful for you tonight that you are going to put into practice? Setting boundaries. Yes, we are going to do it so that we can be better women. Better women. Thank you, Lady Porter. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. And if you did not share the live, you can still share the live if you feel like this will be beneficial for someone else. And you can also go to YouTube, go to my YouTube, Life with Coach Sandara, and there you can share it by text message if you want to. If you want to send it to somebody for it to help someone else. I will be live again this Sunday with Latanya from Esther Locks Salon and Day Spa on this coming Sunday at 6:00 p.m. I will post it ahead of time, but join me there. You don't want to miss the discussion as we talk about self-care, getting better about ourselves, being okay with putting ourselves first and not feeling guilty about it. Thank you for joining me tonight for Her Peace Talk Show, and I pray that each of you would have a good night. Take care.